We on?
Yep.
Okay. Erev Pesach, Erev Shvi Shel Pesach, Tov Shem Pei, in a time of where the world looks like it's coming to an end, but we believe that the Eibishter is Lamala and going to give us Nisim of Kriyas Yamsuf, and we're going to talk about Nisim that happened to Tzadikim, and b'schus this, that we're going to talk about the Nisim that happened to Tzadikim. We're going to be zoicha to really see Nisim like Kriyas Yamsuf, and then we're going to go out of our Mitzrayim, everybody's Mitzrayim. And I hope that by sharing this Maisa with my family, that all of us will be zoicha to be in this opportunity, to use out the opportunity that the Eibishter is giving us through all the tzaras that we're going through, and the fact that we're at home and we'll be able to come out with Nisim and Geulas personally and globally, and for Klal Yisrael and to see the binyan of Beis HaMikdash. So there's a minig in Breslov and most Chassidim that are Einikoch of the Baal Shem Tov, on Achron Shel Pesach, to say over the story. The Baal Shem Tov was mitzvah to his children to say over the story of the greatness that happened to him personally on his Geula on Achron Shel Pesach. And since we can't be together Achron Shel Pesach due to circumstances that are beyond our control, so therefore my brother Meir, and I'm grateful to you, hopefully this will come out good, I don't know, but my brother Meir asked me to say the Ma'aseh Baal Shem Tov today, and hopefully that people will be able to hear it beforehand, and you'll be able to tell it over to your children, and we'll have some kind of a guidance. This story that I hear, I just want to preface, most of it is taken, it's a combination from the Breslov version, but most of it was from the Skolya Rebbe on 45th Street and 18th Avenue that we used to go with Tati all the time. Every Achron Shel Pesach, we would go to listen to the story. Tati loved the story, the way he was a great storyteller, probably in addition to other things, I don't know, but we would go once a year, Achron Shel Pesach, to him to listen to the story. So a lot of the story I get from him, and I will try to indicate what is from him and what's from Breslov so that we have a pure version. So the Eibishter Hashem is supposed to say, Tiftach the Eibishter should give me the koyach to be able to express it and relate the ness, and that we should be able to internalize this ness for ourselves and to understand that we can have our Yeshua from this. So let's just give a little bit of a history before we go into the actual story of the ness. Who was the Baal Shem Tov? The Baal Shem Tov was about, I would say, I don't know the exact chronological time, but the Baal Shem Tov lived about 270 years ago, something like that. I would think in that range. Maybe in that time, maybe 300 to 250 years ago, something like that, in that range of time. And before the Baal Shem Tov was there, the Baal Shem Tov said that he came to be Oiker, the Beis in Lamden. What was the Beis in Lamden? The Beis in Lamden was if you learned Torah, you were a tzaddik. And if you didn't learn Torah, you were a nobody. And Baal Shem Tov came to tell us, to teach us, that every Yid has a power, and we don't know the barometer of the Eibishter. The most famous story of the Baal Shem Tov, before we even go into his later, the most famous, because this is really Hakdama to the whole Chassidus and the whole thing of who the Baal Shem Tov was. There was the famous story where the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, everybody knew the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, where he called them the Shishim Geborim. There were the 60 giants. And David HaMelech says, until them Shishim Geborim, Sovivla. These were the Shishim Geborim. They were able to be poil everything in Shemayim. So it came Erev Yom Kippur, and the Baal Shem Tov saw that there was a terrible gzeira on Klal Yisrael. And he told the Talmidei before Yom Kippur, he called all the Shishim Geborim, the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, and he said to them, we have to daven, there's a terrible gzeira on Klal Yisrael, and we have to be mevatel this gzeira. I'm asking you to mamish daven with your whole koiches, in your whole heart, to be mevatel the gzeira. The story goes that, it was Kol Nidre, Shachris, Musaf, and right before Ne'ilah, before the Baal Shem Tov gives his speech, in walks in this shepherd who found the shul. His father had recently died right before Yom Kippur, and he knew he was a Yid, but he didn't even know Aleph Beis. He knew nothing. He was a shepherd. All he had was his sheep and his whistle that he would call his sheep with. So, but he knew that it's Yom Kippur. He wanted to find a shul just to be together, even though he didn't know how to daven. He wanted to be together with Jewish people. He felt that would be a remedy for his father's neshama. So he came and he walked in, to the shul of the Baal Shem Tov shul in Mezhebes. And as he walks in right before Ne'ilah. The Baal Shem Tov gives this big drasha, and he's telling everybody how you have to daven, that we still weren't mevatel the gzeira, even though till now we weren't able to be mevatel. Maybe now, Ne'ilah, daven with your whole koiches, every kol atzmoisei tamana, your whole bones should be talking, daven with your whole koiches. And the Baal Shem Tov, and this shepherd hears it, so they start Ne'ilah. And this guy, all the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, they're davening, they're screaming, they're dancing. They say on the Baal Shem Tov or Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, they start in one corner of the shul and end up in another corner of the shul because they completely lost, complete Pashtus Hagashmias. So this shepherd sees everybody going davening so fervently, he doesn't know what to do. Finally, he takes out his whistle and he blows on his whistle with all his might. And the Baal Shem Tov turns around and starts becoming the simcha, and he tells the chavraya, this shepherd, he was mevatel the gzeira in Shemayim. What's the moral of the story? You know, if you think about it, the to blow a whistle on Yom Kippur, maybe you could say it was Ne'ilah, the end. I don't know when the story happened, but it's a deraisa. You're not allowed to blow a whistle on Shabbos. It's called a klishir, and you're not allowed to blow a whistle. So you could say, you can zogen, there's my own b'shad here, but can zogen, that even if a person doesn't have ve'er l'shma, but he does it with the ganze heart because he wanted to connect to the Eibishter, he didn't have ve'er, he did Issa D'Oraisa, but he meant it, he didn't know he was doing Issa D'Oraisa, and he meant it 100% l'shem shemayim. He had the power to break a gzeira that the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov and the Baal Shem Tov alone couldn't break. That means the message here is that's what Chassidus taught us. That's what the Baal Shem Tov taught us. That's what the Rebbe teaches us. That the whole Mekayr of Chassidus is to show us that we don't understand the power of every single Yid. Every Yid has that power to be bigger than the Baal Shem Tov, and we think sometimes you got to daven 1,000 times, mikvah. Sometimes it's that one dibur emes, one real connection to the Eibishter, and you are, that's what it is. Avada, we should strive to be Erlich Yidin and strive to better ourselves and elevate ourselves. Everybody wants to learn more Torah and daven more and connect more, but understand that we don't know the barometer. We don't have the tape measure of connection, and that's the biggest thing that Chassidus gave us. What Chassidus gave us was connection, and the connection of us to Hashem, and to understand that we're always connected, and we have the ability to come in 1 second, to be connected. And that's what Bacher Rebbe, the Gemara says, Bacher Rebbe cried that that one person, the guy the story was Rebbe Kiva. I think it was Rebbe Kiva. Rebbe Kiva, they put flax around him to burn him. That was the gzeira on Rebbe Kiva. And the shomer who was killing him, who was the shomer, said to him, I see that you're suffering. They put the flax around you to suffer so that you shouldn't die fast. If I take off the flax, what will I be zeicher to? He said, you'll be zeicher to the same olam haba that I am. And he took off the flax, and Rabbi Kiva died faster, and he jumped into the fire, and Basko Yotza, the Basko, went out and said he was zeicher to olam haba, the olam haba Rabbi Kiva, Bacha Rebbe. And Rebbe cried, and he said, I think it's on this story. Bacha Rebbe cried where he said, 1 minute of tshuva, and the guy, my whole life, I worked on serving Hashem, and I don't know where I'm going to be in Gan Eden. This guy, in 1 minute, his Mesiras Nefesh, his thing for what he did for Rabbi Kiva, gave him the Olam Haba of Rabbi Kiva. And that's what Chassidus teaches us, and that's what we have to keep drilling ourselves, because the biggest enemy that we have is our own guilt, our Jewish guilt, that they implemented and they pumped us growing up in the system, which was good, because the system needed to protect us, but it also worked to our detriment, and it harms us when we feel that we can't connect to Hashem. Who am I to connect to Hashem when yesterday I did this, tomorrow I'm going to do this? We don't realize the abilities, and the Rebbe pumps it all the time, the abilities in the Hayyim and B'Kodesh Shmo. This minute, if I'm going to listen to Hashem, I have this minute. Forget about yesterday, forget about tomorrow. Right now, our power over the Yetzer Hara is in one thing. The Yetzer Hara only has a koyach in the past and in the future. He has no koyach in the present. Anoichi Hashem Elikecha. Hashem is Yud Kei Vav Kei Havaya. Havaya means presence, in the present. The Eibishter gave us a gilu. Before we went out of Mitzrayim, he said, Eke Eke. He said, I will be. And he gave us the koyach of wanting, the anazam and the mehevi, that we want to be. But once he came to Mount Torah, he gave us the Torah. The Torah gave us a power of the presence, of Havaya. Anoich Hashem Elokecha. I am your God today, and I will take you out. That I was the God that took you out of Mitzrayim, which is a whole word for itself. I don't want to get carried away. So anyway, that's the word of who the Baal Shem Tov and what the whole concept of Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov was born, it's known, Baal Shem Tov was born to his father and mother, which is a story in itself. It's too long, not for now, but there's a story, and I don't know it, honestly, to be exactly. I remember hearing it, but I don't know it exactly. But his father was, they say, the father was Makubal, and this I heard from the scholar Rebbe, Makubal Ish Mipi Ish, which we're going to go into the Ish Mipi Ish. A lot of times you're going to hear that, but it was Makubal Ish Mipi Ish, that the father of the Baal Shem Tov was like Avram and mother was at the age of Avram and Sarah. He was 100 and she was 90, I think 90, 190. And because in order to bring such a big neshama, it had to be someone who completely conquered his taivas already. And he was at the age where his taiva, there was no taiva anymore. And the Baal Shem Tov was such a kadosh alien, came from such a holy place that in order to bring that neshama, they had to come onto this. So anyway, Baal Shem Tov's mother died at childbirth, and the Baal Shem Tov's father lived till the Baal Shem Tov was 3 years old. And those 3 years, whatever, I don't know the exact history into it, but the one thing Tati used to say this all the time, by the way. Tati always said this story. The Baal Shem Tov's father, right before he was passing away, he was 3 years old, he told him, the only thing I want to tell you is remember this for your whole life. Never be afraid of anything in the world except for Hashem. The only thing that you should fear is the Eibishter. Don't fear anything but the Eibishter. And Baal Shem Tov, his father passed away, and he became a Yosem now from both his parents at 3 years old. So the people in the city that he was in, they sort of tried to bring him up, to raise him. And he would go, and he was a troubled kid. When I say troubled kid, is they didn't know how to deal with him. He was a really, really big tzaddik, but he was hiding his sin, because everybody knows Baal Shem Tov hid it tremendously. And he made himself into a schlepper and a yosem and a nebuch and a this. And whatever they tried to do for him, you can never please this guy. He was never pleased. So he didn't last very long in each place. And he had his intentions. He went from, at this young age, you're talking about from 3, I don't know, again, chronologically, I tell you exactly when. The Rebbe have more chronological knowledge, but on the Baal Shem Tov, I don't know the exact timing, but for a long time, he was in this stage of going from city to city, and what he would do is he would become the shamish of the shul, the shmiel, shmiel? Shmiel in Alaska, that's who the Baal Shem Tov was. Maybe shmiel is the Baal Shem Tov, I don't know. But that's who he was. I'm trying to picture it. What's the picture of what? And maybe even worse than Shmuel. You said Shmuel still put together this. It could be he was mamish. Who knows? He looked like the shlump of shlumps. He looked like he was not. He pretended he was socially awkward, completely, maybe even autistic or mentally retarded people. Who knows? Who knows to what extent it was? Anyway, Baal Shem Tov. So the story is that, so how was he mefarnes himself? So he would become the bus driver. Those days there were no bus drivers. So the kids, how did they go to shul? They would go. There were little houses all over the forest, and then there was one central place that they all came to, a day camp house where they all came to, and that's where the Melamed would learn with the little kids. So who would take them through the forest from the houses to the kids? The bus driver was the Baal Shem Tov, and they would go through the forest every time, and the Baal Shem Tov used the opportunity to take the kids, and he would sing songs with them to Hashem and pump them with Emunah. And it's brought down that he was 6 years old at the time. So again, we have to believe. There's a famous thing from the Satmar Rebbe. Satmar Rebbe says that if you believe every ma'aser of Baal Shem Tov, you're a nar, you're a fool. But if you don't believe any ma'aser of the Baal Shem Tov, then you're apikoros. So we believe everything, and we're not fools, because we really believe that if it happened, and if it didn't happen, it could have happened 100%. So I'm just repeating what I heard from wherever I heard it from, and hopefully that we're trying to, the whole thing of this story is about emunah, about strengthening our belief in Hashem. Anyway, so one day, the Baal Shem Tov is taking these kids, he collects all the kids from all the various houses, and he starts walking through the forest. and all of a sudden the Yetzer Hara, he couldn't take the fact that there was so much Shemaim was having so much nachas from these kids singing and the Baal Shem Tov pumping them with Amunah. So he disguised himself as a beer, the Yetzer Hara, and he came to, as the kids were walking by and going to the thing, he went, arr, arr, and he scared the king. Scared, I don't want to say what out of them, okay? And the kids ran back home. Everybody ran back home, and they didn't go to learn. So the next day, Baal Shem Tov went to pick up the kids again. And because the Yetzer Hara didn't have the reshus to harm anybody, but he scared them. So anyway, the next day he went to pick up the kids, and the parents would not let the kids go because the kids were complaining. There's a bear in the thing. Anyway, Baal Shem Tov kept begging the parents, I'm begging you, I promise you. And again, 6 years old, but yeah, we believe. I promise you, and I promise you that he kept telling them until he reassured them, I promise you that no harm will come. I will take care of the bear. And I guess not all the parents, some of the parents let the kids go, and Baal Shem Tov went back into the thing. And again, the bear, the Yetzer Hara describes himself as a bear, and he scared them. And it's brought down ish mipi ish, that the Shem, the Baal Shem Tov said the Shem HaMefarish, which is the Shem of Hashem, and the bear died on the spot. And they continued going, and he was able to continue going the thing. It's one of the stories in the youth of the Baal Shem Tov. But anyway, let's go on. Later on in Baal Shem Tov's life, again, I don't know the chronological time, but I do know that he was an older bacha. I don't know what that means. That in those days they got married at 13. He definitely didn't get married at 13. What age exactly he got married? I'm sure there are people that know. I don't know. But I will say like this, that when it came time, the Baal Shem Tov used to go from city to city, and when it came time when he came to one of the cities, he came to a city where there were a lot of people who did not know how to learn. And he became like the Rav of the city, not because he knew how to learn, but because they were so, Chelm. I don't know if you ever heard of Chelm. There used to be a place called Chelm. Everybody knows Chelm was a place of people that they didn't know, they think that they didn't know. Anyway, so Baal Shem Tov came to this place. They made him into the Rav. So anybody who had a Din Torah, they would come to this Rav, and they would come to, and it was known in the city that both sides, which is a big, big chiddush, because usually when you go to Din Torah and you lose, the loser is not happy. The winner is happy, the loser is not happy. But they went, and here, everybody worked out happy. Well, how could it be? He made it in Torah. It's not because of the compromises. There was some kind of a heavenly, divine thing that when he was Baal Shem Tov, we're talking about the Baal Shem Tov, even though he was nister, he used to learn by night and hide himself and go into the fields for years and years and years. He would go through from Shabbos to Shabbos in the mountains. He would go just to have his avodas day and night and connect to Hashem. We can't even understand his avodas. Anyway, so Baal Shem Tov. So Bekitza, there was a big tzaddik by the name of Rabbi Avram Kiteva. And Rabbi Avram Kiteva, when he came into the city, he had a Din Torah. One of the guys at the city, they had some business, and he was already a learned person, and they had business. So the other person that he had the Din Torah with, he said, okay, let's go to our Rav. We have this our rabbi over here. When everybody goes out, both sides are happy. So come to our Din Torah, and both sides are going to be happy. He figured, he's losing this Torah, this got to be thing. Anyway, he walks into the Torah, and Kachava, the guy walks out, and he realized, Avram Kiteva, he was no dummy, he realized there's something bigger about this person. So after the Torah, he went over to Baal Shem Tov and he says, listen, in order for somebody to be able to do such a thing, even though you're hiding yourself, and you must be hiding yourself, there's something divine. Tell me, what is it that you have? And Baal Shem Tov said to him, I'm going to tell you something, but you have to give me a tkiyas kaf, and you're not going to tell anybody. He goes, what? He goes, the only person you're going to tell is your daughter. He says, I'm telling you that Hashem gave me your daughter to be my bazivuk. And I want to make a tanayim with you now, and we should make up, and you should tell your daughter, and again, this is bekibel ish mi ish from straight to the Baal Shem Tov, that when somebody is going to, she should not accept any shidduch, but when somebody comes to him and swipes his forehead, and she's going to see the Shem Havaya and fire the Geoisius, that's the person that she should marry. And no one in the world is allowed to know but him. And then the Baal Shem Tov told him, you should know. He was Megala to him, Torah, and showed him who he was, but he made him swear to Kiyas Kaf that he's not going to tell anybody. Anyway, Rabbi Avram Kiteva was the Rav in the city of Brod. And Rabbi Avram Kiteva went to the city of Brod, and as he came back, he told this to his daughter, and shortly afterwards, he was nifter. So his son, Rabbi Gershon Kiteva, he became the Rav, and he was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, and tremendous Rav. It wasn't just the Rav of Brod, but all the neighboring cities. He was mamish like the Reb Chaim Kanievsky of today, Rabbi Gershon Kiteva at that time. He was he was known in his surroundings as that person. Anyway, the kid said the father passes away. A short time afterwards, he has an obligation. We know, Meir, right? He's Simon. There's an obligation. You got to take care of Yisrael now. Now the father passed away. You got to take care of Yisrael. So he tried his sister. He tried marrying off his sister. He brought the best bachrim from the best yeshivas. Rav Avram Kiteva's daughter, Rav Gershon Kiteva's sister. This shidduch, they were giving only top-notch shidduchim, sending from all over the side. So they sent to him all the bachrim, and no matter what bachar came, she said no. Till she came to a place that he did. Rabbi Gershon Kiteva went to his sister. He says, "Listen, I'm bringing you the best bachrim. Tell me, what is it?" Till it came to a place that he started. He was miyayish. They kept reading shidduchim, and he said, "She's saying no to countless number of shidduchim. I can't deal with it. There's nothing I can do about it." Anyway, in walks to the city, into the shul of the city, Shmuel, the Baal Shem Tov, Srulja, okay, let's call him Srulja, walks in, Shlumpy Srulja, with his tzitzis out, with his, just imagine how he looked, okay? And he comes in and he says, can I speak to the Rav of the city? He goes, what are you here for? Yeah, I'm here because I want to be Mishadach. I heard that they're looking for a shidduch for his sister. I want to be Mishadach with his sister. The Shabbos of the shul is embarrassed to go over to Reb Gershon Kiteva and to tell him, okay, this is my own added flavor into the story, but okay, I don't know if it really happened. But anyway, the Shabbos goes over Reb Gershon. Reb Gershon says, listen to me. There's no way he thinks to himself, this guy's really for real. I mean, how am I going to hurt him? Can you hurt Shmuel like that? What are you going to do? Shmuel says, I want to go out with your sister. What do you tell him? So the same thing that he said, but he knew there's one thing he has is smart, right? His sister declined every single guy in the world that he brought. For sure, she's declining this guy. You understand? Anyway, so she comes and he says, you know what? Okay, tell him he can come. Okay, he comes and they set up the meeting, comes into the shidduch. And of course, the Baal Shem Tov swipes his thing. Shem Havaya, fire the Geoisius. She says immediately yes. She walks out 2 minutes later. Again, my version. 2 minutes later, she goes to her brother, Mazel Tov, this is the boy. He falls, faints on his face. What are you, crazy? She says, before you make this shit, let me just fire him. Let me see. She says, he starts firing him Gemara, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He starts firing him Chumash, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He starts firing him olive base, and he mixes up the olive base. He says, oh, Gewalt, what am I going to do here? He goes back to his sister, he says, listen, I can't stop you, but I'm telling you, you're making the biggest mistake. Everybody else you decline. This one is what you're taking, but I'm begging you. You're embarrassing me. You're going to be embarrassing me. Please move out of the city. I can't have this Shmuel over here being my brother-in-law in my city. So please move out of the city. And no problem. You want to go marry him? They made a real quiet wedding. He moved out of the city. They moved into a place where nobody lived. And it was like 30, 40 kilometers. It's brought down somewhere. I saw that was the distance, about 30, 40 kilometers away from the city of Brod. Anyway, Scavaldi, now you're reminding me the story, and I'm remembering it like I'm starting to live it. Yeah, maybe. See, this is what I need you for. Anyway, so so there was a Maggid, famous Maggid. So one second. So Baal Shem Tov went with his wife, and he lived in this thing. Nobody bothered him. Reb Gershon Kiteva completely forgot about him. Everybody forgot about the Baal Shem Tov, right? And he was able to do his Avodas Hashem. Anyway, story goes that there was a Maggid that he used to go. You know what a Maggid is? A Maggid was that in those days they would have people like we have entertainment, and Jewish entertainment where they went from city to city to be mechazik people, to be ma'ira people, and they would say drushes. They were good speakers, great speakers. Why? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, why was considered a Maggid, and he would go. How would he make partners? He would go from city to city. He was the guest speaker of that Shabbos, and he would come. So there was a Maggid, I forgot the name, but it's brought down, it's documented the name of this Maggid. He would go from city to city. Anyway, there was this Shabbos that he was going. It was a big Shabbos. Let's just say Shabbos Nachmu. I don't know what Shabbos it was. It was a big Shabbos, and they invited him to come say in the city of Brud thing. Anyway, those days they didn't have transportation, was horse and buggy, and he went with enough time to make it for Shabbos. Anyway, he got a flat tire. You know what I'm saying? His wheels broke. I don't know exactly what happened. The horse went out of breath. It broke down, and it's getting close. It's Friday afternoon. He went with enough time to make it for Shabbos, but it's Friday afternoon, and it's getting closer and closer to Shabbos. They can't fix it. There's nobody there. They're in the middle of... And this Maggid reminds himself, Reb Gershon Kitteva has a brother-in-law that lives somewhere in this neighborhood. He starts trying to find out, and he finds out that he's not far from this place. So he realizes he's stuck there for Shabbos. Let me go in there. You know what? What am I going to do? I'm going to, that's the only place he knew. So he went into the thing, and he knocks on the door, comes in, Mamish, Erev Shabbos, like right before Shabbos. And the wife of the Baal Shem Tov opens up the door, and she says, listen, I got stuck here. I was supposed to go to the city of Brud. I know you're the sister of Reb Gershon Kitteva. Is it okay if I stay here for Shabbos? So she goes, sure, but my husband, he doesn't come home until very late tonight. So don't wait for him. He says, no, I'm going to wait for him. Anyway, he comes into the house, and he sees hanging next to the door, there's a chalaf. Chalaf is the knife that the sheikhtim uses, a chalaf. And he just, while he was waiting for the Baal Shem Tov, you know how you check a chalaf? I don't know if you know, with your finger. He never saw such a straight chalaf in his life. And he knew that this guy was Am Eretz, that Reb Gershon Kitteva sent him out of the city, because how does he have such a chalaf? How does he know the halacha? He was wondering, how does he know? Anyway, the kitzah, Baal Shem Tov comes back Friday night from shul late at night. He sees that he has guests, and he invites his guests to eat the Shabbos meal together, And the Baal Shem Tov says to him that, say Torah, say something. So he starts saying lofty Torah, whatever it is, and he realizes Baal Shem Tov doesn't understand a word he's saying. So then, Shabbos morning, again, Baal Shem Tov asks him to say Torah, so he realizes that he's got to lower the level. So he lowers the level. Baal Shem Tov says, I don't understand. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you please say something? You're my guest. Say something that's going to inspire me. He realizes he keeps going down Madrigas. Okay, let me just tell him the stories of Avraham Avinu and Yitzchak, Yaakov. That's it. Anyway, till finally he realized Baal Shem Tov knows nothing. And when he realized that, he couldn't believe Reb Gershon Kitteva's sister married such a thing. He's there for Shabbos. Imam just wanted to run away. He was in such pain for the tzaddikim. He wanted to run away. Anyway, comes Shalashudas, and Baal Shem Tov starts saying to him, listen, till now, you said Torah. My minig is Shalashudas, I say Torah. And this guy's thinking to himself, oh my gosh, he's going to now say Torah to me. This guy's telling me the Torah. And he says, okay, I have to hear the Torah. So he starts saying the Torah. And he starts saying all of a sudden, and he starts like with Pasha the Torah, and all of a sudden, he starts saying crazy Torah. And till this Maggid falls, Chaloshus, he faints. He couldn't believe it because he went from such an extreme to such an extreme. Anyway, the kid says he wakes up and he realizes that he's in the presence of such greatness that is not to be believed the greatness. So the Baal Shem Tov tells him, he says, listen, it came the time for me to be Nizgala. I want you to go to the city of Brud and to tell my brother-in-law, Reb Gershon Kitteva, that you were by me, and that he should invite me back, and that you saw what you saw, and that he should invite me back to the city of Brud to he should be Makar of me, and I need him because I want to be able to now help other Yidden. And that's the story of how the Baal Shem Tov was in this gala and how he came to Reb Geshen. And at the end, Reb Geshen Kittavah became his chassid, not Stam his chassid, his biggest chassid, okay? One of the biggest chassidim of the Baal Shem Tov, and that was when the Baal Shem Tov was Megala himself. Anyway, that's just a brief history. I don't know if it's so brief, but that's the history. I made a couple of notes of what goes next. We did the beer story, we did the whistle story, we did the birth, and we did the youth pretty much of the Baal Shem Tov. And what is this? I wrote something, I can't even read my own handwriting. I don't remember. Okay, so now let's talk about the Nesiah to Eretz Yisrael. So it's known that the Baal Shem Tov, for years and years, he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. And by the way, maybe you could make this as a separate recording. And I don't know if you could split it afterwards, but I'm thinking that, it's long if you put the two things. But now, this was just the history of Baal Shem Tov. Now we're going into the real story of the Baal Shem Tov, of this Maisa, the real Maisa of Baal Shem Tov. I like when you put it all together. If you ask me, I like the whole thing together. It brings you into the mode, it brings you into the flavor of the thing. Okay. So anyway, the Baal Shem Tov, that wanted to go for years and years, he strived to go to Eretz Yisrael. It was known that the Orach Chaim HaKadosh lived in Eretz Yisrael, and the Orach Chaim, the Baal Shem Tov said this, that the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, there's the Nefesh of Mashiach and the Ruach of Mashiach. And if the Nefesh Mashiach, I don't remember who was which, who was the Nefesh and who was the Ruach, but if the Nefesh and the Ruach of Mashiach come together, that's going to bring Mashiach. So Baal Shem Tov had a moydige shtoikikus. Shtoikikus means yearning and gaguim and kisufim. He wanted to come to Eretz Yisrael. And of course, not only because of bringing Mashiach, but also Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe also talks about everything. Wherever I go, the Rebbe said, wherever I go to Eretz Yisrael. That means in his world, he saw Eretz Yisrael everywhere. And his gaguim was to go to Eretz Yisrael. But anyway, these tzaddikim, they had we can't even comprehend their intentions. Vada was to help us and to bring the Gula. Baal Shem Tov kept asking, it was known that Baal Shem Tov would have Aliyah's neshama. He would go up to Shemayim in the middle of his, he would just check out, and we'll talk about it soon, about his Aliyah's neshama. Anyway, so Baal Shem Tov, he kept asking permission in Shemayim, and every time he asked for permission to go to Yisrael, they said, no, we're not granting you permission. And he accepted it because he had no choice, but his yearning was not stam. Anyway, Bekitza, and there's other stories that are connected here. I remember, but I'm not going into the tiny stories. But it's relevant, but it's not relevant for this second. So Baal Shem Tov, so he would send people. What I'm trying to say is that even though he wasn't able to go, there's mices of different mices. We sent different people to Eretz Yisrael in the hope that by sending them to their journey to Eretz Yisrael, he would also be able to get to Eretz Yisrael. Anyway, Bekitza, the Baal Shem Tov, there was this Yid whose name was Reb Moshe, and everybody was known. The Baal Shem Tov was known for being about Moshe. Everybody knew that if you didn't have children, you needed Yeshuas, Refuas, you needed Shidduchim, you came to the Baal Shem Tov. So this Yid heard about the Baal Shem Tov, and he had few daughters. He was very poor. In those days, if you didn't have Nad, you weren't able to marry off your kids. You needed to have Nad. Even today's day, we need it, but those days for sure. Because there was, I'm saying there was girls, there was plenty of girls. There was always plenty of girls. So it was a man's world then too. You know what I'm saying? You don't put up money, you ain't getting a shidduch. Okay? So the Baal Shem Tov, so this Reb Moshe, who lived in wherever he lived in, he had older daughters and he wasn't able to get a shidduch because he didn't have money to go Nad. Anyway, he came to Baal Shem Tov. And I don't know if he came on a Shabbos, before Shabbos, and he stayed for Shabbos. That part I don't remember. But anyway, he came to Baal Shem Tov, and he kept coming into the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov didn't give him the time of day. He knew the guy is coming special for him. And he waited, and he waited, and waited. Anyway, after a long time of waiting, I don't know exactly how long he waited, but he waited. Finally comes to Baal Shem Tov, and with frustration, he comes together and says, I came here special for you. I have a tzara. I have girls. I can't marry them off. I have no money. What should I do? I need help. Baal Shem Tov told him, go to Istanbul. He goes, what, Istanbul? He said, go to Istanbul. He said, what am I going to do in Istanbul? And Baal Shem Tov stopped talking to him. He went out, and the Talmid of Baal Shem Tov, he told him what happened. Baal Shem Tov didn't want to tell me. He just told him, go to Istanbul. Istanbul, Turkey, by the way. Capital of Turkey, even today. So the Gaboim told him, listen, if the Baal Shem Tov told you, go to Istanbul, go to Istanbul. Don't ask questions. The Baal Shem Tov, that's what he told you. Your Yeshua is in Istanbul. Go to Istanbul. So he went back home and he told his wife what happened. His wife told him, if Baal Shem Tov said go to Istanbul, go to Istanbul. So anyway, he takes the last couple of dollars, borrows, whatever it is. Again, my version, I had to make the story interesting a little bit. So we go, and he takes and he goes to Istanbul, and he finally gets to Istanbul. Remember, traveling those days wasn't easy, but Istanbul, I think, is connected to Ukraine. In other words, Turkey is connected to Ukraine. You don't have to go through waters to get there. And so that was one of the ways of getting to Eretz Yisrael, was a person would go to Turkey and then take a boat from Turkey in the Mediterranean Sea from Turkey to Israel. And the journey from Ukraine, it was a long journey, but that was a horse and wagon journey. Anyway, so this Reb Moshe finally comes to Istanbul. And he comes into the city of Istanbul. Now, Rosh Hashanah didn't tell him what to do. He doesn't know what to do. He asks around. It's an Arab country and a city. He asks around. They said, listen to me. The way the news works over here is in the center of the city, every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, again, my version, there's a guy with a drummer. And he makes a big drum roll. WINS news. He makes the big drum roll. And everybody surround, they gather into the center square of the city. And somebody gets up on a platform and he starts telling you the news. And they have the news today, WINS news, today, all of this happened. Okay. So at the end of the news is the classified. What do you have in the back of the newspaper? The classified. Okay, this guy's selling this guy's looking for a worker, this guy. So this Reb Moshe, he asks the people, what are they saying then? He says, now is the time when they're saying there's a guy that's looking for an accountant. In Turkey, the one thing the Turks, even till today, by the way, I'm sure it changed a little bit, but it was known that Arabs are terrible at math. They're terrible. They're the worst at math. From all that's not their element of intellect, is not math. They're not mathematical. So anybody who had a little bit of math intellect, he was able to get, he was able to get a job. So there was a guy looking for an accountant, a guy to run his books, a buchhalter it's called, right? So this guy said, okay, I'm in. I'm a buchhalter. I can do this. They said, okay, buchhalter, no problem. They hired the guy. And then his balabos paid him, and he saved money. He started saving. He was making a salary, and he started seeing maybe this is where the issue is, that the Baal Shem Tov is telling him to come over here. Maybe but he wasn't making that much money, but he made money. Anyway, story goes, and this is really one of the most beautiful things of the story that I think that we could learn from it. But this guy, this Yid, he goes to the fruit store. And one day, he passes by the fruit store. He goes into the fruit store, and he asks the fruit man, show me the nicest fruit that you have. And he shows him the nicest fruit. And he takes him into another room, and he says, in this room, this is really expensive. You can't afford this. And he said, please take me in. Anyway, I want to buy this fruit. He goes into the room. He picks the most expensive fruit that the guy has. He picks, and he goes out. And he pays for it, and he goes out of the store. As soon as he goes out of the store, this balabos comes running after him with I guess, sword. They weren't guns at the time, but whatever it is. And he says, I'm going to kill you. Because it's known that by the Arabs, and especially in Turkey at that time, the worst Aveira was Gzela. If you were a Ganef, and the din of a Ganef was, they cut your hands off, or either they kill you or they cut your hands off. I don't know exactly. One of the two things. A Ganef was a severe punishment in that time. He says, listen, I saw you bought, you don't have the money. I know who you work for. There's no way you can afford to pay for that fruit. And he says, I'm going to kill you. So anyway, the guy says, do me a favor, before I hear you, I just want to explain myself. Please give me a chance to explain myself. Maybe you'll understand. And he tells the guy, he says, listen, by us Jews, I'm a Jew. And the Jews, we have that once a year, we thank Hashem, we thank our God for the gratefulness of living, and that we lived another year. And how do we do that? We take a fruit that we never ate before, and we make a shechiyanu. A shechiyanu is to say, to be grateful that we're benching just like this new fruit that you gave this new fruit a new life. You gave us another life, a new life together. And that's why we're thanking you. Shechiyanu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. And that's what we make on a fruit. It's Tu B'Shvat. By the way, just saying, since we're talking to the family, Tati, Tu B'Shvat, Rosh Hashanah, Lilanas, Rosh Hashanah, and Oman, going to Oman. Tati, everybody knows Tu B'Shvat was right, and we were just like to be there this past year, this 2 months ago we were there. Baruch Hashem, they help us that we should be able to go for Rosh Hashanah. We're davening daily, Chevra, if we got to daven, because this is a really, really, really scary. But anyway, the Kitzah, so he says, Tu B'Shvat, we take this fruit and we make the Shechianu. The guy from the fruit store looks at him and says, really? Wow. Looked at him with a hold of him and he puts his sword back. He says, really? I see that you're a very, very honest, godly man. I want to show you something that I never showed anybody in the world. And he takes him he says, please come with me. And this guy just wants to get away from him. He was just going to kill me 2 minutes ago. Who knows if he's not going to kill me again? But what should he do? He had no choice. He goes with the guy and they go on to the most expensive street in the whole entire Istanbul, to the nicest house on the most expensive street in the whole entire Istanbul. And they walk into the house. And what he takes him into the basement of the house. He says, oh no. He's going to kill me now. This is what he did. He brought me here because he's going to kill me. He goes into the basement and he opens up a room. And in the room, there's a vault. And he opens up the vault and he walks into a palace filled with diamonds and all different rubies and sapphires and beautiful things. And they go from another room to another room. And he sees treasures and treasures of wealth, tremendous wealth that this guy had. It turns out this guy owned all the fruit stores in the entire Istanbul. He inherited a tremendous Yerusha for Dairas from some kind of a royalty family. And he was hiding the thing and he says, I have nobody to give it over to because I have no children. I'm already getting old. And I don't even have anybody to show this to because I'm afraid once I show it to them, they're going to steal it. But you, when I saw you, at least let me have that know of showing somebody what I have. I needed to show it to somebody. Thank you. And this guy just runs away and says, thank God I ran away from this guy. And he goes back to his thing. Anyway, drum roll in the city. Couple of days later, WINS news, bam, 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 bam. What happens? The drum roll, they say, guess who died? The guy, the fruit store man, he's walking by. He is the man, the fruit store, the guy that a couple of weeks ago, whatever time it was, he died. And his house and estate is for sale. Whoever wants to buy it goes by. Here's this. He says, oh my God. He goes back to his balabas and he tells balabas, listen to me. I promise you, I have a great investment now. I can't tell you about it, but I'm telling you, if you give me the money to buy this investment, I promise you I'm going to pay you back 10 times fold the ribbis or whatever. He made him a deal that was, he couldn't say no. And he really believed him that he knew he was buying a piece of property. Obviously, this is, again, my version into the thing. So he gave him the money and he went and he bought the house of the thing. And it didn't take a long time till this Reb Moshe became the richest person in all of Turkey and in all of the city of Istanbul. And he started realizing that this was the bracha of the Baal Shem Tov. When the Baal Shem Tov tells you, you go to Istanbul, you go to Istanbul. You don't ask questions, you go to Istanbul. So this guy goes to Istanbul and he becomes the Gvir Ad. He was known by the whole city till he got so renowned that the Sultan of Istanbul became his best friend. And we're going to get back to this. We're going to leave this story. And he brought his family. His daughters did the biggest shidduchim in the world. And of course, also, you know what happens when you make a lot of money. And he forgot about the Baal Shem Tov, but we'll get to the Baal Shem Tov in a second. Baal Shem Tov wants to go to Eretz Yisroel. This is Rav Moshe. Okay, now we're going back to measurables. We're going back to the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov wants to go to Eretz Yisroel. And he sees again Shemaim 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, 20. I don't know how many times that they're not letting him go. He decides he can't anymore. He's sacrificing for Klal Yisrael. He's going to Eretz Yisrael. But he knows if Min Shemaim, they said no, there's no way he's going to make it. So he was makabel on himself that oni choshev kemes, if you have no money, right? If you have no money, then you consider it mace. No money, you're dead. How can you survive in the world without money? But also in Shemayim, there's that thing, ani choshev kemes. And on a mace, they can't have shlita in olam hazeh. They could only have shlita on a mace in Olam Haba. There's no shlita. Hamal Yishamal doesn't have on a mace. It's only he's already in Olam Haba. But he's not really a mace. He's not really dead. He's alive, but he went into this anichad, and we don't understand this, but the Baal Shem Tov had his asagas. So he was mitzvah to his family and all his talmidim that no matter what you hear, no matter what, do not give me money. I have to go through this in order for me to get to Eretz Yisroel. I don't know if he told them that or he didn't tell them that, but anyway, that's a story. Anyway, he starts on his journey and he takes only his immediate family, goes with him. None of the Talmidim go with him. That was another thing. He wasn't allowed to be with anybody, and he went from city to city, Medina to Medina. That means obviously countries. And it says he came to this one Medina, one country, and every time he came to the country, where would he go? To the shul, because that was the only place that he would get something just to be able to survive for his family. So he went into to this city and he went into the shul, and everybody was there with their kitlach, middle of a regular thing, and they're all davening to Hashem. Oh, he rebutted, and he sees what's going on. What's going on? He asks around what's going on. He says, the king of this country, his daughter got very, very sick. And they brought every doctor in the world to try to heal her, and nobody was able to heal her. And the king knows that Yidden have a koyach tefillah, and he said he was geyser on all the Jews in the city that if you don't daven for me, you're all going to get expelled from the city. So we made a yom tefillah, and we were geyser tainus, and everybody's here with the kittel, and they're blowing shofar, and the geyser tainus, and they don't know what to do. Baal Shem Tov said to the thing to send a messenger to the king that I can heal his daughter. I can heal his daughter. By the way, I forgot to mention that the king said, Mommy's calling, by the way, but I'm not answering. I'll call her back. So that the king said that not because I'm not being mechabed my mother, because I think that this is being mechabed my mother. She's going to love this, and I don't want to interfere, so I'm not doing it. I know I'm being defensive. I'm sorry, but Mayor, I'm making believe I'm talking to you. Whatever happens afterwards is not my control. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the kids are so the king also said that whoever heals the daughter, Ad Chatzia Malchus, I don't know if Ad Chatzia Malchus, whatever he wants, I'm going to give him. From my oitza, he can have anything that he wants with it. Anyway, Baal Shem Tov comes to the king, and he wants to see the daughter, and it's Mekibel, Ish Mipi Ish, that whatever a person has here, the Baal Shem Tov, like is now, in the coronavirus, they wear the bodysuits. And one of the things here is most contagious contamination is hair. Hair has the big thing. So he covered himself completely with hair, his beard, his mustache, whatever he had here, he was covered himself. And he went in, and it's Mekubal Ish Mipi Ish. Again, this is the Scully Rebbe saying it, that he heard it from his Shiver, or from his grandfather, father, all the way till the time of Hashem. So it's authentic. And he said, Ich Yisroel ben Sarah, Heis, in the Eugen. Open your eyes. I, Yisroel ben Sarah, say that you should open your eyes. And all of a sudden she opens her eyes. I, Yisroel ben Sarah, say that you should get out of bed. She gets out of bed. I, Yisroel ben Sarah, says that you should start drinking. They brought her a drink. She starts drinking. I, Yisroel ben Sarah, say you should be a healthy person. And within minutes or whatever, she became healed. She became healed. It was a big simcha in the palace of the king. Everybody, this person came and healed the thing. So the king calls in the Baal Shem Tov and he says to him, tell me something. You healed my daughter. What do you want? Baal Shem Tov says, I want to go into your library. I want something from your library. He goes, okay. He wants something in my library. He takes him into his library. It's again, Mekibel Ish Mipi Ish. Baal Shem Tov went to the shelf, one shelf behind. There was a hidden shelf. And he pulls out a sefer, and that sefer was the Ksav Yad of David HaMelech Tehillim. The Tehillim, the Ksav Yad of David HaMelech Tehillim. The king says to him that if I would have known, Azay Zukman, said that I think this was Ishmi Piyish, or maybe this brought down the Bresel to Zeva, I don't remember. But he said to him that if I would have known that this is what you wanted, I would have let my daughter die. But anyway, since I promised you, I'm giving it to you. You healed my daughter. take the Ksav Yad. Baal Shem Tov knew that this is something that if he has this is going to be his way of getting to Eretz Yisrael. Anyway, Baal Shem Tov continues on his journey, and he's poor, and he's going through real, tremendous struggles, and he arrives Erev Pesach in Istanbul to go. That was the closest city to be able to go to. The ports were in Istanbul, and he arrives Erev Pesach in Istanbul without, it's Mekibel Azoy, this is what he used to say to Skali Rebbe, that nish nosin nish gevein kematza of Yontiv. So nish gevein a brekel chametz. There was nothing. They had nothing. They were starving with nothing, not even a candle. In those days, there wasn't electricity. There wasn't even a candle to illuminate it in the house. And Baal Shem Tov and the Bnei Bayis, the Baal Shem Tov's daughter Adel and his mother and his wife, they're all mamish. They don't know what to do with themselves. Anyway, I forgot to tell you that a few days before this, in Mezhebes, there was this, they say from Australia, I think it's brought down from Australia, that a couple who didn't have kids, they heard about the Baal Shem Tov, and they came from, it says Merchakim, but I don't know, I once heard a version from Australia. That means they came those days from Australia. Can you imagine what kind of traveling to come from Australia? Today, if you want to go to Australia by plane, I don't know, it's 18, 20 hours or 24, who knows? I don't remember. It's a tremendous long trip. Can you imagine those days, ships and this, months and months and months to be able to come? They finally come a few days before Pesach. They come into Mezhebes and they come to see the Baal Shem Tov, and they come to the Talmid of Baal Shem Tov, and they say that we came here because we heard that the Baal Shem Tov is about Moifis, he can give you a bracha to have kids, and they come to him to give him a bracha to have kids, and the Baal Shem Tov, he's not there. They tell him, I'm sorry, but the Baal Shem Tov is not there. And they start crying, such bitter bechiyas. Talmid Baal Shem Tov, mamish merachim, the people came from such a far place. They didn't have kids for many years. They came, this is the last hope of having kids. And we should not know what the tzar is when somebody can't have kids, but the tzar is crazy. And they had so much rachmanis that they knew that even though the Baal Shem Tov was mitzvah on them, that they shouldn't send thing. He said, listen, we know that the Baal Shem Tov is on his way to Eretz Yisrael. He's on his way to Istanbul. I'm telling you, if you want kids and you get him food and whatever he needs for you for the Seder night, you're going to be nifgad with children. Here's the Eitzah. He hires the best horse and wagon, loads it up with food, and he travels to Istanbul, and he gets to Istanbul, mamish. The Baal Shem Tov got to Istanbul 12 o'clock, let's say. I'm just making this up, okay? Again, anytime I'm making up, I'm trying to say I'm making it up just to make the story better, okay? So anyway, so he got me, but I don't know what time, but the Baal Shem Tov did not know that this guy was there. And this guy comes into the house, right, let's say, right by this man, with all the food, all the thing, and Sevet lichting in the house of the Baal Shem Tov. Meantime, Baal Shem Tov, he goes to shul, and he doesn't know about any of this, and he is depressed. It's Pesach Seder, and he can't even have the moichin of the Baal Shem Tov to be able to connect to the Yitzias Mitzrayim. He was not there. Lo po. How do you say lo po? But he knew that his ultimate goal was to get to Eretz Yisrael. He has to get to Eretz Yisrael, and the only way to do this is to go through the saniyas that he was going through. Anyway, Baal Shem Tov goes to shul, and everybody invites, Pesach night, everybody. Only this year is the first time that we said Kol Dichvin Yezav Yechel, and we didn't have the opportunity to be able to have guests, except for Mommy. Mommy's the only one that she's lucky enough. Hashem loves her. She gets guests on Pesach. But most people in the world, by the way, not just think they don't have guests this year on Pesach, but mommy, listen, there's no question. My mommy's on the level of the Baal Shem Tov. We don't chop, but I'm telling you, we have to, mommy's on a different level. Anyway, point is that Baal Shem Tov is, so where was I holding it? So yeah, so he goes to shul, everybody invites him, he damped the longer Shemoneh, so he doesn't want to get invited. He goes home and he knows he has to face his family because this is the only way to do it. He's going to Eretz Yisrael, and as he gets closer to his house, he's not sure, but he sees light in the window of his house. Well, I mean, light. There was not money to buy a candle. They had no light in the house. Comes into the house, and he realizes the Shulchan Aruch, like a real Shulchan Aruch, with a kaira, with everything. Kol mina matamim, everything is there. Baal Shem Tov goes into the house, and he forgets where he is. He got so besimcha. He forgets, it's say the night, he has everything. He gets all his iris back. He goes in and he starts mamish profiting the Seder until he comes to Baal Yisroel. He comes to Baal Yisroel, he opens his eyes, and he looks around and he sees this couple on the table, and it's Bekibel, Ish Mipiyish, that the Baal Shem Tov did not talk on Shabbos and Yom Tov, only Lashon Kodesh. He didn't talk, only Lashon Kodesh. So the Baal Shem Tov said to him, he sees these people, he says, Ma Shmecha, what's your name? And the answer, whatever, where did you come from? Ayin Bosa, where'd you come from? They say, Merchakim, from Australia, wherever. He says, Uma Bakushaschem. I'm saying it, trying to say it like the scholar Rebbe said. Ma Bakushaschem, this is how he used to say, and they answered him, we came because we wanted to have children. The second that the Baal Shem Tov heard that they came for children, they did it for such a taiva. Baal Shem Tov was goyza on the spot. I'm goyza that you should have a ben zocha toich hashana. The second he said these words, Mekibel ish mipi ish. Okay, I got to be honest. I don't know every ish mipi ish. Sometimes I'm putting in my own ish mipi ish, but maybe he did say it. Maybe he don't say it. It's been a long time since I've been by the Scholar Rebbe. I don't want to lie. So, but I'm going to go with ish mipi ish. So it's Mekibel ish mipi ish that the second he said the words to him that I'm going. What? I think so. Anyway, he says to him, Ish mipi ish. I gotta be ish mipi ish. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Ish mipi ish. That the second he said that you're gonna have a child, he flips backwards. The Hashem flips backwards, and it's this I did here. Mekibel ish mipi ish. Just like a person could bend himself forward, right? We can bend ourselves forward, going all the way down. The Hashem could go backwards. You can't do it because your spine doesn't do it. But that's how he had Aliyah's Neshama. Everybody knew his B'nai Bayis. They didn't get scared. They knew it was Aliyah's Neshama. But these people, when they saw it, they got frightened. And all of a sudden, they kept trying to revive him or look at him. And this, and B'nai Bayis said, leave him alone. They left him alone. And they would see on his forehead, these were the words that the Scholar Rebbe said, Zechzig Shishim Malkus, the Pursa or something. I don't remember the Lashon of the Zohar, because the Lashon that 60 feierdige Finken, 60 feierdige Finken that went by, they saw fire going crosses forward 60 times. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, hours later, whatever it is, the Baal Shem Tov wakes up and he comes back, and the B'nai Bayis asked him what happened. And this is also a beautiful part of the story. The Baal Shem Tov says to them that I went up as soon as I was geyser that these people should have a child. I was mishana ma'aseh bereishis. So when I went up, they called me l'din Torah right away. They called me l'din Torah. You're not allowed to be mishana ma'aseh bereishis. She's a akar misheishes yemei bereishis. Akara misheishes yemei bereishis. He's a akar misheishes yemei bereishis. You know what an akar and akara is? Of someone who can't have children. Misheishes yemei bereishis. And you were geyser shini ateva. You wanted to change the teva. We're taking it in Din Torah. They took the Din Torah and the Pamal Yishamal, and what was the Einish that they gave them? We're taking away your Olam Haba. They thought, you know what I'm saying? We're taking away the Olam Haba. All of a sudden, there's the beautiful part. The Baal Shem Tov starts dancing. And he says, finally, I could serve Hashem, knowing for sure that I'm never going to get a reward. So there's no me in it. There's no ani at all. I could serve him purely just to serve Hashem. So they realized, the Pamal Yishamala, again, I'm repeating it the way he says that, you know, this guy, it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Olam Haba is not the right Einish because it's not an Einish. So they decided to give him the Einish of Malkus of the Malachim. It's known that the Malachim get Malkus, 60 Malkus, and 60 fire the lashes. And that's the 60 finkim fire that you saw going across my forehead. Anyway, we go on, and Baal Shem Tov, so that's the story over there. In the meantime, let's go back to Reb Moshe. Remember Reb Moshe? I know we left Reb Moshe a long time ago. We're coming back to Reb Moshe. What happens? Reb Moshe is making a Seder, and the Sultan, who's his friend, the Sultan was the prime minister, the king, whatever it was of Turkey, was his friend. He wants to come for the Seder. He comes to the Seder and he brings, he comes to the, he says to Reb Moshe, I want to see what a Jewish Seder looks like. And he comes to the Seder. Anyway, the Kitzur, he goes through the whole Seder. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I don't want to stretch it that long. I stretched it long enough. So he comes to the Seder, and Rav Moshe tells him all the things about the beautiful Seder, and Fashtetz, Rav Moshe, the richest person in the world, KRM, KMR, whatever. Nobody made a Seder like Rav Moshe in those days. He made the richest Seder, the most beautiful Seder, and the Sultan was really impressed. And anyway, the Sultan's leaving. He decides he's leaving. So Rav Moshe says, wait, don't go yet. Rav Moshe takes out a big gifted present. What does he give him? He gives him a matzah decal, like a matzah cover with diamonds and rubies all over it. And inside he puts 2 matzahs. He says, this is what we eat from the Seder, and I want to give this to you as a present. The Sultan thanks him, and the Sultan leaves the house. The Sheni Sultan, the vice president, the prime minister, he decides that he's a son of Yisroel. He can't forget this. Rav Moshe got so much covered with the Sultan that he finds his opportunity. He waited for this opportunity. As they're leaving the house, he tells the Sultan, he says, listen, Adoni Sultan, I just want to tell you that this Rav Moshe, he's a Jew, and the Jews hate us. And you know what they do? The Jews, you know what he did? He gave you a present. You understand what an embarrassment the president gave you? The present that he gave you the 2 matzahs. You know when those matzahs come, you know how the Jews make matzahs? They kill a goyish kid, and from the blood of the goyish kid, then there was many stories in the history of the blood libel, and that's how they make the matzahs. So he says, really? Can you prove this? So he says, why don't you investigate? You'll see. He says, really? Okay. So I'm going to he sends the police back to Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe hears the police, and those days, again, this is what I heard from the Scholar Rebbe, they didn't go into your house. They surrounded your house, and you would have to come out of your house. Police. He hears the thing, he realizes he knew this guy, the Shein Lamelch, is a big Russia. So he knew this guy's going to have it out for him. So they circle him. He comes out. Guess what? He realizes there must be trouble here. On the way, he remembers he just heard that the Baal Shem Tov is in town. All of a sudden, Rav Moshe, who became rich because of the Baal Shem Tov, as we forget, it's not just Rav Moshe, we all forget. And we forget that Hashem runs the world. We forget all the tovas that people do to us. And when it turns around, we're very forgetful, and we're not enough makatov because we're not grateful enough to the Eibishter. We're not grateful to the thing. And this Rav Moshe was no different. So he forgot. But now that he's in trouble and he needs a Yeshua, what does he do? Rabluza, all of a sudden we remember. We got sorrows, we remember, okay? So he remembers and he says, do me a favor, police, on the way to going to wherever we're going to the police station, can we make a stop? Sure, Rav Moshe, for you we'll make a stop. I need 5 minutes. He goes into the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov is in the middle of his beautiful Seder that the Australians gave him, and the Baal Shem Tov is holding by these words, and this I heard, B'nisach, from the Scholar Rebbe, we all know it in the Fried family, it's known. La'oi seine Flu, ois gedai, leis levada, v'boi ki la'oi lam chazdai. No. Pushes him away. He doesn't want to talk to him. That's what Baal Shem Tov is holding. He's holding in the middle of Hallel. Everybody remembers Hallel, Tati's Hallel. So can you imagine Baal Shem Tov's Hallel? La'oisa in the floors, Gedolos, what is he saying? That Hashem makes these miracles. We always have to be grateful. And that's all he tells him. He tells him, go, and he goes, no. Baal Shem Tov pushes him away. He's got no choice. Oh boy, even my computer's getting excited. Okay, lights in the floor. Anyway, he goes and he takes him and he goes to the police, put him in the police. They can't, it's nighttime. They keep him overnight. Overnight, he has a dream. And in his dream, his grandfather or the Baal Shem Tov, I don't know exactly who came to him in a dream, but someone came to the dream and told him that the next day, when you go up to the thing, go wherever you're going to see the Shem Havaya in fire, the Oisius, follow the Shem Havaya. Follow the Shem Havaya. Anyway, he comes in front of the judge the next morning, and the judge says to him, I'm sorry. He goes on the way to going to the judge. Again, he says, do me one favor, let me go back to the Baal Shem Tov. And he comes back to the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov is still in the same place, in the same words. No. Again, so he goes, he doesn't know what to do. He comes there, he comes to the judge, and he says, listen, Adoniya, judge, he doesn't even know where he's taking this from, but I just want to tell you, you're going to believe the Sultan that he's telling you that this is the way we make matzahs. You know who he is? This Sultan, he's a priest. And Christianity in Muslim country was the most worst thing in the world. And being a priest of a Christian was even, he's a priest. He goes, yeah, can you prove it? He goes, yeah, I can prove it. He says, come with me out of the city, and I'm going to be able to prove it. And he really sees, all of a sudden, he sees the Shem Havaya, or before he sees the Shem Havaya, and he starts traveling to wherever he sees the Shem Havaya. They go out of the city, and he comes into the forest, and he comes on a stone. I know this sounds like Cinderella stories, but I'm telling you that I heard this, and from this I heard, this is not brought in the Breslov from this board, but I heard this from the Scully Rebbe, that he heard it. I don't know if this is Ishmi Pish, but this is the way he said the story. And there was a rock, and there was a footprint in the rock. And he said, Adoniya Sultan. The guy says, Adoniya Sultan, put your foot in, tell the Sheni Lamelech to put his footprint into the footprint of the rock. He puts the footprint in the rock. I know it's Cinderella. The cave opens up, and he walks down the steps, and it's Mekubal, and they see that there's a church, and there are 70 priests, and this guy, he's the number one guy in the whole priesthood. It's Mekubal, and anyway, Bekitza, and that was his Yeshua. He saved the Yeshua. He comes back to the Baal Shem Tov, and he says to the Baal Shem Tov, what can I do for you to repay you for the Yeshua that you gave me? He felt grateful. And Baal Shem Tov said, I don't want anything. The only thing I want is to go to Eretz Yisrael. Get me on a ship to Eretz Yisrael. And he puts him on the first. He wants the first ship leaving Chalamoid. He doesn't care Chalamoid. He wants the first ship to go to Eretz Yisrael. The Kachama, Chalamoid. He puts him on the ship. And they start sailing towards Eretz Yisrael. A day or two into the thing. All of a sudden, there's a storm. But you know what kind of storm? Titanic. I don't know. You saw Titanic? A Titanic storm. The ship is rocking from one side to the other side, to the other side, to the other side. The Baal Shem Tov knows that this is Min Shemayim. They're not letting him go they're not letting him go to Eretz Yisrael. There's the ship. So he goes out and he davens and he says, listen, Sarah Shel Yam, the Sar of the Yam, the Yam, everything has a Sar. And he goes to the Sar. Baal Shem Tov used to be able to talk. We don't understand, but he spoke to the Malachim. He spoke to the Sar Shel Yam, and he says, Sar Shel Yam, what can I give you to be mashtik you? I know that they told you Min Shemayim to make me tsar, but what can I give you that's going to be mashtik you? I want to go to Eretz Yisrael so badly. Sar Shel Yam says, I want the ksavim that you have, that book that he had from David HaMelech, the Ksav Yad of David HaMelech, the Sar Shel Yam says, I want it. Hashem Tov, devastated. David HaMelech's ksavim, but if this is what it takes to go to Eretz Yisrael, I'm willing to do it. And he throws the book into the Yam, and all of a sudden, as soon as he throws the book into the Yam becomes quiet. I know Cinderella, but yeah, this we believe. I'm saying it to myself. We believe Amunah Shalema that this is what happened. Anyway, the Breslov version is, and I'm a Kabbalah that this is our version, that a Baskol went out from Shemaim and said, don't be, because he had so much pain that he had to throw in the ksavim of David HaMelech. And I know people are going to question this, even us, we're going to question it, especially, well, I don't want to say who's going to question, but people are going to question it, but don't question, we have to believe it. The Baskol came out and said, don't worry, you're going to have an Einikul that's going to write Shener ksavim. Shener ksavim, the David HaMelech, the Rebbe. Today, all my years, I wasn't able to understand this. I'm starting a little bit to understand when you learn the Rebbe's Svarim and you Mekayim the Rebbe's Eitzes and you connect to Hashem with the Rebbe's way, you're starting to realize that it's, I don't know if it's Shener or if it's the same thing. It's It's the same thing. It's Elikus. David HaMelech wrote Elikus. The Rebbe wrote Elikus. Yeah, the Baal Shem Tov was zeichen to an Einikel that wrote a remedy for the world forever and ever and ever. Just like David HaMelech gave a remedy of Tehillim forever and ever, the Rebbe gave a remedy forever and ever. I had to plug that in as my Breslov thing. But anyway, going back to the story, then a day or two goes by. You remember the Hitz Chalamoid, and it comes to Achron, so basically a day or two goes by, and the Saras Shayam starts again, and the winds go, and okay, I made a deal with you, Mr. Saras Shayam. We made a deal 2 days ago, and now all of a sudden you're backing out of the deal. What do you mean? What do you want now? He says, no, I want your daughter Adel, who was known that Adel was considered one of the Chavraya of the Baal Shem Tov. She was Adel, by the way, was the grandmother of the Rebbe. Adel had Fega. Baal Shem Tov had Adel had Fega, and Fega had the Rebbe. Right? Okay, but that's a different story. We're talking about the story of the Baal Shem Tov. So Adel hears it, and Adel says, I'm asking. I'm asking just like Yitzchak was asking to go on the Akedah. I'm asking, Tata, I know that you're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. If that's what the Yam wants, I'm asking. Baal Shem Tov doesn't know what to do. He's torn, but he knows that if he goes there, he's going for Klal Yisrael. She's willing to be Mesiras Nefesh. He says to himself, I can't put her into the Yam. He put a raft, he took a little rafting boat, and he put her on the boat. And when he put her into the Yam went crazy. And she was going up and down. Yalu Shemayim Yered Taimus. That's how he used to say it. It was crazy. They went through a crazy thing. Until Adel, from fear, the pachad was so big, she was screaming to her father, Tata, Tata, help. It's Mekubal Ish Mipi Ish. Then the Baal Shem Tov stretched out his hand, and just like it says in the Bas Pari, she stretched out her hand to get the bassinet of Moshe Rabbeinu. It says 50 amma, that Baal Shem Tov's hand stretched out 50 amma from the boat to go to save his daughter. And instead of pulling her in, by mistake, he pushed her in. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. That Baal Shem Tov tried, when he heard his wife say his daughter is screaming that she wants to be saved, he tried pulling her in. Instead of pulling her in, he pushed her out. Instead, once he saw that she was pushed out and she was drowning in the water, he stuck out his hand and it stretched on 50 am and it went into the water and it picked her up and put her back in the boat. The second they put her back in the boat, the boat splits in half. The boat starts sinking. Everybody's running. Oh, save it, save it. All the rafts are coming out. They put everybody in a boat raft and they start rafting and they come until they drift into an island. And it's known that this island was full of cannonballs. You know, cannonballs are menschenfresses. The Rebbe Franks look at the men. Everybody knows the story. My friends call this story the story. You know, I said this sometimes on Achron Basic and Regency. So they would come listen to the story. I say it to whoever's around. I hope also this year just my family, but I'm going to try my neighbors too, because it's the ness and it brings tremendous emunah. And that's really what we're talking, that we really believe that Hashem is kol yochel. He can change everything in a second. Look what happened not so long ago. And it's not just in the Baal Shem Tov. We could be zoche. Every Yid could be zoche. That was the beginning of the story. Anyway, so she pulls it back, and they come to this mention phrases. They round up all the Baal Shem Tov's family and all the people from the boat. They tie them up. They make this big fire, and they're going to roast the people. Reb Hersh Seifer, the son of the Baal Shem Tov, turns to the Baal Shem Tov and he goes, Tata, look what's happening. They're going to kill us. Come on, you got the magic. What, you can't turn it on now. You know what I'm saying? So Baal Shem Tov says to him, I don't remember anything. From the Roiv Bahal of what happened, he lost all his meichen. He says, I don't remember anything. And this is brought down both. It's documented exactly like this in both places. So he turns around to Reb Hersh Seifer, his son. He says, Reb Hersh, maybe you remember something. So Reb Hersh says, I also don't remember. The only thing I remember is Aleph Beis. So Baal Shem Tov says to him, you remember Aleph Beis? Zog. So he starts saying Aleph Beis. It's brought down that's where the Yeshua happened. And all of a sudden, as they were saying another eyes and another eyes, the Baal Shem Tov got back all his meichen. And there's two versions to the end of the story. This is the final of the story, is that one version is that a boat came to save them, and they saw that there was, and the mention presses ran away from the military boat came, and they saved them, and they came back to measurements. There's another version to the story that Eliyahu Hanavi and Achia Shaloini, two that Baal Shem Tov used to learn with Achia Shaloini. Achia Shaloini was a Navi that was beyond, right? One of the biggest Naviim. Eliyahu Hanavi was Eliyahu Hanavi, right? Those are the Chavrusas of Baal Shem Tov. They said to him, if you're makabel on yourself never to attempt to go to Eretz Yisroel again, they took him from there and they put him back in measurements. I forgot, and that's the big ness. And the Baal Shem Tov was mitzvah lebonov, that they say that we should say over the story every year. This ness happened on Achron Shel Pesach, and this is the time of Nisim, because Pesach is the time of Nisim. I should say Sichem Eretz Mitzrayim, and this is the time that we remember that with these Nisim, we could do it. We understand that there's the opportunity. We can connect to Hashem. We have Kriyas Yamsov. The Eibush was Mahapech, Yabosha to Yam. We should all be Zeicha to see the Geula Pratis and the Geula Klolius, and to believe in the Nisim. How? By Vayaminu B'Hashem U'Ma'ishav, by connecting to the Tzaddikim and believing the stories of Tzaddikim and believing that it's capable to happen to each and every single one of us. We should be Zeicha, the whole Fried family. Be'mehera v'yomenu. Amen. There's one little tidbit I'll add to the story that I heard from the Scully Rebbe that I just reminded myself that when they ran from the boat, they ran from the boat to the rafts. Reb Hersh Seifer was sleeping. The son of Baal Shem Tov was sleeping, and Achia Shaloini or Eliyahu Hanavi came and put him into the raft, and he would show his whole lifetime down his arm the imprint of the hand of Eliyahu Hanavi. Azoi Zukman, we believe that everything that we're saying is true, and we're asking Hashem again, please bring us back. Someday, not the someday, this day, we should all be together. Bezrat Hashem. I love you all. Have a great, wonderful Yom Tov. It's a long story. I hope you have the patience. Take care.